And so it's the next day. I went to my local auto parts store and I was trying to get a mower deck belt for this thing without spending the 40 to 50 bucks that they want at the Home Depot. But they did not have it. But Tractor Supply sold the 40 to 50 belt. I think it was 48 bucks. And then right next to it, in the regular belt section, they sold this one for 23 bucks. So that will be the deck. The belt that goes on the deck, a 1/2 inch by 103, is what's required. So I'm going to get that strung in there, and we'll see if the pulleys now maintain tension. And my alignment of the bending of what I did to that pulley did not harm anything, and instead helped some of the tracking of the belt. So let me get that sucker strung up inside there, and we'll see how that functions. Cut some grass. I already did some. So I just got done cutting the grass for a 1/2 hour, 45 minutes, and seemed like it can perform well. I don't see any issues with the deck. It's a little needs to be leveled in the up position. You can see she's kind of sitting to the left side a little bit on the tractor left side. So it's got a cam adjustment. You can kind of kick it one direction or the other, which is that guy right there. So that needs to go up. And I figured I'd look into the noisy exhaust and some other things. And one other thing I do see on the front wheels are kind of wearing kitty wampus. And then when you roll it, that sounds a little dry. So those plastic bushings in there seem like they are starving for grease, possibly even worn to the point where they need to be redone. So I figure I'll grab the jack. We'll jack the front end up. We'll take a peek under the front, see what that looks like, and see if we can start addressing some of the other issues on this tractor now that we know that it's a survivor. So I jacked the front end up, and that one's got a little bit of play in it. This one got a lot of play in it. It's got like plastic type bushings on it, but it's got a grease fitting on it. If you put grease inside there, that wouldn't happen. Imagine that. And then the exhaust being loud and kind of rattly in the motor. The muffler's right up against the frame, so as it's shaking around, it's just rattling right on the cage there. So see if we can go pull that out and away from it a little bit, and see if we can quiet that sucker up. So what do you think? Think it was well greased? So that's the plastic bushing that's in there, and that's how sloppy it is on the axle. And then it's also has play in the wheel, so a little bit of everything kind of adds up. Could probably take it, seems like it's a tight fit there, get rid of that grease fitting and just grease everything by hand, and kind of flip it around to take up that play, but it's still going to have that ID, still going to be pretty crappy. So I'm going to go look in my stash of brass bushings and see if I can find something that's a little closer to this dimension. Maybe we can put a brass bushing in there and we'll pack everything with grease. And worst case, if not, I'll put it back together with that one flipped over and greased up. So of course the Horde had something to pay us with, and I got a couple of pieces of brass here. I'm not sure which one I want to go with. This one's fairly long, and would stick out. I can kind of cut that down to the length I need. And this one has a shoulder on it. You notice that this one kind of is used as a spacer too, so you're supposed to go in that far and then take up that much of the space of the outer part. So I'm going to kind of go and drive that one in and see where it ends up. The axle's got some play in it too, but that's a much better than what was there. Remember when tractors actually had wheel bearings in them? And then the really crappy ones had brass bushings in them. You're like, what the? And now we deal with plastic. Dry plastic. Alright. So I'm going to tap that sucker in there. We'll see how that makes for a fit. And put the wheel back on and maybe... I wonder if this side might qualify for doing the same thing. Think it's going to happen one-handed? No, I'll get that out of it. Anyway, so we'll put it back together and I'll turn you back on. So I put that back together, filled it up with grease, and then I had to go put some washers. The idea of the washers doesn't quite match. But I just wanted to take up the space, and of course it's still got some movement, but nothing like what it was before. What it is the axle itself kind of looks like a bowling pin, where the bushings were rubbing. Actually wore the metal down somewhat too. So I'm going to go and see where else we can kind of take care of some issues. And that rod end doesn't look too tight now, does it? I think we're going to go and not even tight at all. I can undo with my fingers. We get a couple wrenches on that. We'll tighten up that rod end. Kind of give her a quick look over. Stuck a big screwdriver in, pried the exhaust away so it's not rattling on the frame there. I think that might have been the noise that we were hearing. And the mounts on the where it mounts to the front of the cylinder head for the exhaust, that was loose too, so the bracket was kind of rattling up there. And yeah. So it's the next day, and the machine's kind of cooled off. Wheels are back together, and seemed to cut the grass decent after getting a new belt on. The next thing I want to go and address is I wanted to check the valve adjustment on this motor. And I have a feeling that might be a little on the loose side because the motor sounds a little on the cackly side. So I want to get that valve cover off of there, and I see a couple of the screws are kind of hiding behind the plastic on the top and the heat shield on the bottom there. But I think I might be able to kind of press and prod a little bit and push that stuff out of my way to have access. But I'll let you know how that makes out in a minute. But I can get that valve cover off there, and we'll see what we have as far as sloppy valves. Sloppy, I say. I lied. I took the screws out of the bottom tin and the cover on top. So I got a rag under there to catch the heebie-jeebies. I bet you I forgot a screw. Yes, I did. Slacker. Yeah, like between 5 and 7 is what they're supposed to be. I would say that one's greater than 5 or 7. Let's see if we can rotate that puppy. So grab me a feeler gauge, and I'm going to go set up and tweak them into place. So the valve cover's off, and the exhaust valve is on its compression, so I could adjust the other valve, the intake valve, and that's basically most valves are set up that way. If the other valve is pushed down, the opposite valve can be adjusted. Sometimes it can get a little wacky with valves. Valve train that has a built-in decompression valve, but generally you'll be okay. And somewhere I put the Allen wrench. There it is. Allen wrench is in the center of it. That's the lock. Crack the center loose, and then the outside can move. I got a 5/1000 feeler gauge, and I'm just going to keep turning until I feel the right amount of drag. generally you want to go a little tight before you tighten the screw, because when you tighten the screw down, it has a tendency to make it a little looser. Yeah, it feels pretty good. And I'm going to rock it the other way and do the other valve at 7 thousandths, being the exhaust valve. And the reason why I know it's the exhaust valve because the exhaust pipe is right there. I know that's the intake valve because the carburetor is right there on this engine. Sometimes they kind of swirl past each other, but this one's pretty obvious. So we'll get that other valve done and then put it back together. We'll fire it up and see how it sounds. So that's it. I put the bagger system back on it and ran around the yard, functioned it one more time, cut the grass essentially one more time, make sure everything was okay. I don't see any issues with it. Front tires are, you know, they got a little bit of play in it, but that's fine. It's not going down the road doing 60. It's you know, doing 7 in the yard. So the pressure washer knocked off all the heavy heebie-jeebies. Not that this machine wasn't all that bad to begin with, but mower deck seems quiet. Bags are all on the beat up side. Other than that, it seems like a decent machine. Decent homeowner machine. And fired up the TW. And warm up the battery. I gotta get a sticker on it. New Hampshire all motorcycles are due at the end of this month. 6/31 is the 6/30 is the last day. And I thought I was gonna go for a ride. I have blue skies over there. Got some big old black nasty clouds kind of coming across, so I might get a little bit of a rain delay. But I just want to say thanks everybody for watching, comment, subscribing again, and see you later. I might have to put that ride off a minute or two. It's sunny, yet it's raining.